Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Interactive Interview here on WrestlingEpicenter.com. It is your bewildered host, James Walsh, joined, as always, by Mr. Nick Knoll. Nick, are you there?
Yeah, James, I'm here.
Have you heard from Patrick, Mr. Nick Knoll?
No, not.
You have not heard from Patrick?
Was he supposed to contact me?
No. Hold on a second. What's going on with Patrick is I've been trying to call him for like 2.5 hours now, and I can't reach him. Don't know what's going on. I don't know if he forgot it's Wednesday. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, we have to kind of start the show off on a shitty note, but we have a replacement. So let's start this out. For those of you who are tuning in to hear Superstar Billy Graham, we're unfortunately not going to be able to bring that to you tonight. The plan is to have him on next week. Mr. Graham, Superstar, WWE Hall of Famer, was taken to a hospital last night after an allergic reaction. Now, apparently he's okay. He is home. He's been instructed to rest for a week to get ready for the convention next weekend. Apparently his voice is beat up. He's very tired. He's very, he's on antibiotics as well. So we wish him well. We all knew going in about his health issues. So we wish him well. The plan is to have him on next week, same time, same channel. Joining us tonight, we're going to have X-PAC, Sean Waltman. That is confirmed. He's going to join us half past the hour. And we're going to talk about Shawn Michaels Hall of Fame induction and a couple other issues that have come up with his name of late. So that should be lots and lots of fun here, right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com and the Interactive Interview. And I have a feeling we're going to have to go on a little bit of a field trip today, Nick, and page Mr. Kelly's phone. What do you think about that?
Well, let's see what happens.
I'm not sure what's going on. I've been trying to call him for like 2.5 hours. I called him as soon as I found out about Billy Graham, which unfortunately was kind of the last minute. For those who don't know, Sean Waltman is doing a show of his own on a different site, not a competitor's site or anything. He does it on a different server altogether to Blog Talk Radio. And he does it at 8 o'clock at night on Wednesday. So he's, just finished up. So we're giving him a half-hour break between shows. And I kind of called him right before he was getting ready to start. I said, hey, could you do me a favor and bail me out and come on tonight? So he's going to be joining us. I like Sean Waltman. He's always a fun guest, and he's always easy to sit and shoot the crap with. So that should be a fun experience here tonight. And hold on here, guys. What's that, Nick?
Whenever we interview him, it always seems like he has something going on, or there'll be a point. He'll say something that's entertaining.
Well, I'll tell you what, the last time we had him on was for our Luna Vachon tribute show, and I kind of have kept away from putting things like that up on YouTube and things like that just because I was afraid that people would say what inevitably they do say, and that is you're using it for, gain. So I didn't do it. I started doing it today, though. I did put the Missy Hyatt interview from that show on YouTube, and I'm telling you what, by the way, joining us right now, Patrick Kelly, are you there?
I am. How you doing, man?
Good. Are you all right?
I am fine. I am so sorry about what happened there. My car broke down.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, and I was just everything's fine now. It's just that it broke down a few days ago. Actually, it broke down for the first time about a week and a half ago, but it broke down again, and it's just been a mess. And the guy came with the new battery tonight, and I lost track of time while I was with him getting it all set up.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, I'm here now. I'm so sorry. I realized I walked back inside the house after fixing everything, and my sister was like, your phone was ringing. And I was like, oh, shit, I forgot. Yeah, but
no
I'm
problem
here now.
at all. We do have a little bit of bad news. I'm sure you already heard, but Billy Graham was actually taken to the ER last night.
I heard. Is he okay?
Everything appears to be fine. He's just been instructed to relax and take it easy this week.
Okay.
So he's got the big weekend next weekend, and I think it will probably be his last public appearance. That kind of was the idea. So, I'm not shocked by the news that he can't join us tonight. We have him rescheduled for next week. Whether that pans out or not, I am not certain. But I can tell you that we have a lot of big guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. And tonight, officially announced, we have Sean Waltman joining us in about 20 minutes' time. So he's going to join us and talk. Yeah, he's going to join us and talk a little bit about Shawn Michaels in the Hall of Fame and all that good stuff. So it should be an interesting evening here.
Oh, and who else was put into the Hall of Fame this week? I didn't watch Raw.
No one.
No one?
Basically, the only thing about the Hall of Fame this week was Shawn Michaels takes his rightful place in the WWE Hall of Fame, which is a commercial they aired repeatedly.
Okay.
Here's my thing about that.
If anybody deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, it's Shawn Michaels. Absolutely. I don't think anybody will doubt that.
No, I don't doubt that.
I guess they're gonna use him as like the big quote unquote draw this year because they always have at least one big attraction.
Yeah, but here's the thing about that, Pat, and here's my thought on that. And I know Nick and I are gonna probably disagree here, but I logged on to the Newsline on yesterday, I think it was, and one of the videos Nick posted is the Macho Man Randy Savage doing a commercial for In Your House 2 the video game, yeah. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, In Your House 2, the video game that he's advertising for is a WWE video game called All Stars, WWF or WWE All Stars. And it's a mixture of the younger generation, now the guys you see on TV, and the guys from the 80s. And it's a pretty cool thing, and I think that's cool. Unfortunately, the game is WrestleMania the Arcade Game Volume 2. Remember with Doink with the gigantic buzzer hand and shit like that?
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, well, if you've seen the game, like when John Cena gives somebody the attitude adjustment, he jumps 65 feet in the air to do it.
Well, he is Superman, James.
The Rock has more muscles than Batista. I mean, it's just a cartoon kind of video game. It might be fun. I mean, everybody's trashing and saying it looks like crap, but it might be fun. But it's not going to be your No Mercy Volume 2 here. Your next installment of the Great Wrestling video game.
I always wondered what it would be like if, say, the Madden series took that approach, like that overly cartoony approach, and just like had, quarterback throws a bomb, and it's literally a bomb. And when the player catches it and runs into the end zone, it explodes. Just something over the top and ridiculous like that.
Did you ever play NFL Blitz?
Yeah.
Not the one where they're like you're screwing cheerleaders, but the original NFL Blitz.
What? There's a game where you screw cheerleaders?
There's a game called NFL Blitz. The League?
Yeah,
Blitz the League. They couldn't use the NFL trademark on it, and you live the life of an NFL player, and you score with cheerleaders and stuff. It's pretty inane.
Lawrence Taylor.
Football?
You do play football, yes.
Lawrence
football.
Who just pled guilty to essentially statutory rape with a 16-year-old girl, was the spokesman for this game.
Yeah, Lawrence Taylor, the guy who I loved as a kid, who continually crawls his way out of the shit pile, only to dive straight back into the swan dive position.
Pretty much. Greatest giant of all time on the field. Off the field, he's a goddamn disgrace.
He used to own a restaurant. It was an awesome restaurant, LT's, and it was right near Giant Stadium, so of course it's a huge business. And it was a great restaurant. I used to love going there. And then he started, all his money went up his nose. He lost that. He kind of disappeared for a long time. Then he started breaking out there, the lingerie bowl, and then he was the spokesman for like a stacker kind of, I don't know what it was, some kind of energy stuff. And then he gets screwed and caught with in a hotel with a 16-year-old, and it's idiot.
Yeah. Well,
we main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah, trying to get back to what James was probably talking about. James is probably going to try to infer that because Randy Savage is featured in this commercial, that means he will be in the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to say it right now. When you do a deal with a video game company, you deal exclusively with that video game company. I will say this, and I will make this prediction. Randy Savage will not be inducted into the Hall of Fame until A, he is dead and Vince doesn't have to see him, or B, Vince is dead and Vince still doesn't have to see him.
Which still begs the question, what in God's name? Because I said it on the show when we had Vance Archer on, Lance Hoyt. And, we talked about the possibility of him going back there. I'm like, well, if you look at Vince's history with Sable and Brett, they both came back eventually. And it's like, yeah, so I'm sure.
Lex Luger and Medusa are the only two that he has not seemed to have been able to forgive. And even Luger, at least he gave... Yeah, but even Luger he gave an action figure to. But I think that you really are seeing cracks and chinks in the armor. You got the DVD that came out, which was very disappointing that there wasn't really a documentary on that.
Half-assed.
It was definitely half-assed, but at least it was a mention of the name. You have the action figure coming out I think it's next month, the Randy Savage Classic action figure, and as soon as I know when it is coming out, I am heading to Walmart to pick that thing up. I actually have a shelf in the office with Randy Savage stuff on it, so that will be on there. And the other one is this commercial, and that's 3 WWE, even if it was through THQ, even if it was through whatever the company is that WWE has doing their action figures now. I guess it would be Jax, or no, it's not Jax anymore. It's Toy Biz?
I don't even know. Yeah, I think it's Toy Biz.
Is it Toy Biz or is it Galoob or not Galoob?
Didn't Toy Biz do the old TNA figures?
No, I think it's Mattel that does
Mattel,
WWE.
You're right. Nick is right. It's Mattel that does them now, yeah.
They're the
Toy
ones
Biz is the ones who used to do the WCW figures.
And the old TNA figures.
And the old TNA figures, that's right. They were the dying days of WCW figures. The ones that, because for years WCW had shitty merchandise, even though they were more popular. And by the time they got the merchandise sorted where they had cool stuff, it was like, well, yeah, but who's left? So, so you got 65 Goldberg figures in different series. Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Nick.
I don't know who did it, but there was this really cool set I used to see for sale. It was like a Sting action figure set, and it was Sting through the different eras in his career. Like you'd have like the 1988 Sting when he would wear like big long robes, and you had like the mid-90s Sting where he would have the short robes and the blonde hair, and then all the way up until the then current Sting, which was the return to the black and white.
And I'll say again, I have that on the shelf too. That is the WCW.com released it. I never saw it in stores, but WCW.com did release that. It's a boxed set of like all Stings through the years. WWE is kind of doing something very similar to the Rey Mysterio, even though he hasn't really changed that much, except for doubling in body mass.
Yeah,
not height, but body mass.
That's actually a cool idea. They should do that like for Shawn and Bret Hart.
Except with Bret Hart, it would be tragic.
Yeah, but that would be... yeah.
Well, you can... Tell you what, you can...
you can give all the action figures of Bret Hart hinges except the last one, because he can't move.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
And this is coming from the biggest Bret Hart fan on the planet, so, yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Well, speaking of someone I'm a big fan of, I finally saw the Ricky Steamboat DVD last weekend.
Yeah. Really? How is it?
Very good. Very good. Very nice. 3-disc set, great matches. Documentary was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Is the documentary good? I have not seen that one yet, so...
They gloss over a few things. Like, they mention, for example, that he tagged up with Jay Youngblood, but then they don't mention that Jay Youngblood died in, like, 85. For some reason they don't...
Which is very strange, because that really affected Steamboat. I mean, that is something that he does discuss.
Yeah, and they just kind of gloss over it, and there are a few things like that, and Steamboat is... probably the nicest guy in the history of wrestling, so nobody has a bad thing to say about him, so there's no controversy or anything, but it's still a nice, well-done retrospective on his career.
They should have called Paul Roma.
Oh, Paul Roma doesn't like it?
We should call Paul Roma back. I mean, Paul, unfortunately, is retired, but maybe he'll shoot. Who knows?
Well, what I'm saying is, though, apparently that's what some people say that with the Four Horsemen DVD, when Roma started it, he was very nice, very kind, very complimentary of Flair and Anderson, and then, like, they kept intentionally, like, feeding him things that would piss him off, and that's why you get in the DVD Roma going, oh, you had, Pillsbury Doughboy, Arn Anderson, and Ric Flair dropping his pants every night at the bar. I tried to bring something different to the group. And that's unfortunately what they presented in the DVD, where the guy comes off like a jealous, bitter ex-wife.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, that was a strange portion, because Roma, while a good wrestler and always a good talent, he had never really, even with Power and Glory, and everybody goes to Power and Glory when they talk about the guy, he had never really broken out as like a big single star. So for the Horsemen to bring him in, it was kind of a strange choice, I thought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of says like that, and a lot of people just kind of go off of they couldn't get Tully Blanchard back, so they picked a guy that kind of looks like Tully Blanchard.
He's in better shape than Tully. I mean, I can see the facial features maybe, but he's in better shape, and he wasn't a better worker. He was just a very different worker than Blanchard.
Well, here's my thing. Why was, the 1990s roll around, why are the Four Horsemen still going on at all? I mean, isn't it kind of like, people say that the NWO got milked to high heavens, and it did, and they had no end game for it, and it was obvious, but for God's sake, the Four Horsemen went on from, like, the late 80s all the way to, 2000?
Well,
and they still keep trying to resurrect it. What was Evolution? And Fortune, yeah. Evolution, Fortune. I mean, they keep trying to go back to the Horsemen. It's like, good God, let it die.
Even if they don't call it that, it's the same, strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, to be fair to the Horsemen, though, there would be, like, breaks in between where it wasn't like the group would be one continuous entity, like by 89 when Arn and Tully had already left and Barry Windham was on his way out. The Horsemen were more or less DOA, and Flair went into a singles feud with Steamboat and then later Terry Funk, and they brought it back in 90, and that was when he had Sting in there, and then even kind of after the whole Arn Anderson, Sid Vicious scissors fights, it was gone for a couple of years, and then they brought it back in late 95, with Pillman, and then EO shall not be named ever again, and Mongo.
Yeah, Mongo. Which, anybody who's watched the Botchamania videos, I think that might be my favorite running gag. They use that clip from Blazing Saddles. Never mind that shit. Here comes Mongo.
Oh.
Speaking of stables that don't want to die and are following in the footsteps of past stables, Nexus is the NWO. Like, it's late stages NWO.
And they got Steve.
Go ahead, Nick.
They have, apparently, Steve Blackman and Batista had a child together.
Yeah, they're just randomly adding people to the group now.
Like, no disrespect to Mason Ryan, but that is what he looks like. He looks like Steve Blackman and Batista got crossed together.
Now, they did a shitty job on Raw telling that story as well. What is the story supposed to be why he was allowed to kick CM Punk and then, then he joins the group? Was that CM Punk paying his dues or something? Or why did they even bother? Because that just seemed very bewildering.
I agree. I guess what they're going for is that they had banned any members of Nexus from ringside, and if Nexus interfered, they'd all be removed from the 40-man Royal Rumble. So I guess the idea was that by kicking Punk, that guy got disqualified, and thus Punk won the match over Cena. Which
is the story I thought they were going to tell, but then they never had anybody announce who won the match.
apparently that must have been a mistake, because that actually keeps getting reported that the plan was for the announcement to come in, ladies and gentlemen, your winner by disqualification, CM Punk, and then I guess the announcer could be like, oh, that's not right. That's not right at all.
Right.
And they didn't do it. So I don't know if wires got crossed or a microphone didn't work or I don't know.
Someone's trying to protect John Cena. We can't have it announced that he lost to CM Punk. That can't happen.
See, I'm just saying, WWE must be convinced that the world will end if John Cena puts anybody over. Even if someone interferes in his match, he can't be pinned unless it's Sheamus.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's one of those things where the world has to fall on top of him every time whenever he loses. The whole world just has to collapse and fall on top of Cena, and
which is not anything new.
Ridiculous.
I mean, look at Hogan in '89 or was it '89 or '88 when he lost the title to Andre. He didn't even get pinned. He was up by one, and they had the how much plastic surgery did it cost him, brother?
Yeah, but
it was one of my favorite of all time.
Yeah, but James, to be fair, they would be realistic. Where if King Kong Bundy comes out and squashes Hogan repeatedly, Hogan is hurt. He's walking around with injured ribs, and people are like, I don't know if Hulk Hogan can survive this cage match with King Kong Bundy. I mean, he's already hurt. Or if Earthquake comes out and squashes him, it's like Hulk Hogan may never wrestle again, folks. But with John Cena, you can have 50 men beat him up. He can be thrown through a spotlight,
which then explodes,
drowned, and he'll come back out the next night.
Yeah, he was
a lot of that has to do with rushing storylines, where WWE thinks, oh, we can't take him off TV at all, ever. He has to be on TV every week. And, again, they're not thinking long-term. And, I always read reports about how it's, oh, yeah, WWE has a plan. They book from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. And I got to tell you, I watch their shows. That does not show to me. So if they do have a plan, it's not a very good one. Because to me, it just looks like everything's rushed.
They used to have, part of having a plan is also having the patience to stick to the plan. For example, Sting versus Hogan, Starrcade 97.
Again, not a good example for the match itself, but for the build-up, it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. The build-up is amazing. There were a couple of times where during the course of the year, WCW buy rates dipped a little bit below what they would have wanted. At no point did Eric Bischoff panic and say, okay, I got to put Sting and Hogan on. It's not going to work. I can't hold off. He stuck to his guns and waited till Starrcade 97 to do that match. I don't think WWE has the patience to stick to the guns. It feels like if they lose half a point in ratings during a 15-minute interval where the president is announcing something, they'll panic and immediately rush out some huge spot, rush title change. You've also, it's not just having a plan, it's going with the plan and understanding that long term it will pay. Sometimes you have to take a minor hit to get a big payoff later on.
Right, and we talked about that before, but things like, okay, let's look at the Royal Rumble. They've upped it to 40 guys this year. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, because I think it could make the luck of the draw thing mean even more, because now it's like number 20 isn't even a good number anymore. So it's kind of like, it makes that interesting.
Yeah.
But let's talk about it. Here's the reason they did it. It's because they have so many mid-carders and so many guys that have absolutely zero direction right now that they don't know what to do with them. So it's like, it's the Money in the Bank syndrome, where it's like, oh, we don't know what to do, so we'll just cram 2 more guys to do a ladder match. So, except here it's, oh, we'll just cram 10 more guys to do a battle royal. And that's what we've got now.
Yeah, that's just it. They have no, like you said, there's no U.S. title scene anymore. Daniel Bryan has that belt, but his storyline is not, oh, who's coming out for the U.S. title? It's gee, why do the Bellas hang out with Daniel Bryan?
Oh,
and again, I got to ask you this. He had a great match with John Morrison this week. You know, there's nothing really going on with Morrison. He's kind of stagnated. Why was that not a U.S. title match?
Well, apparently because it's simple, James. The U.S. title doesn't matter. Look, and I hate to say stuff like this, but it just doesn't matter. It's just a prop that they'll give a guy and they'll hold on to until it's time to, until it's time to give it to somebody else. As you said, it would have made perfect sense for Morrison to, either win the U.S. title or, hey, he can say, well, you know what, now I want a U.S. title shot because I just beat the champion. Instead, you have Sheamus come out and basically go, Daniel Bryan, you don't matter, and John Morrison, you owe everything to me, and I'm going to toss you both out of the 40-man Royal Rumble. I look silly in this awful-looking crown and cape.
Tim the Enchanter. I keep calling it. He looks like, for those of you who watched Monty Python and the Holy Grail, he looks like Tim. Just put horns on him and dye his beard black. He looks silly, and I can't believe that Sheamus and Morrison are still feuding. And again, it's not a case of where I don't like the matches. The matches are fine. They've been some of the better matches I've seen in wrestling over the last few months. But for God's sake, it's the ladder match should have been the end of the feud. But now that Morrison's, they blew the load on that title match, now it's like, oh, he's right back to what he was doing before. And he's just, again, he's stuck in this directionless mess where they don't know what to do with him.
Right. I mean, yeah, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen. See, Patrick, you talk about how they've added 10 guys and it's 10 mid-carders. I don't think that's going to happen. I think those 10 extra spots are going to go to Roddy Piper, Jimmy Snuka, Ricky Steamboat, Jerry Lawler. They're going to bring out 10 legends. I think Lawler could very well win the Royal Rumble, the way they've been pushing him.
Oh, I don't think they'll do that. But, well, whenever I say it's like they'll never do it, it winds up happening. But I can't believe they would do that. But, it's just amazing to me that they think an announcer beating the WWE champion almost every single time they face each other makes for compelling television. James told this story on the air where when Jay Leno in WCW, when he put an arm bar on Hulk Hogan, and apparently Kevin Sullivan got so pissed off that he took a Polaroid of it, showed it to Hogan, and was like, now, if you were working for Vince McMahon, do you honestly think he would have let this happen? Well, nowadays, Vince McMahon 2011, yeah, I think he would.
Yeah, and I keep hearing people defend this because it's like, oh, Lawler's getting Miz over. Lawler's teaching Miz, what he needs to learn. I'm like, what, how to look like an idiot? I mean, I'm sorry, Miz was good enough beforehand. Was he the greatest in-ring worker? No. But it's not like he's learning a whole lot from Jerry Lawler. What he's learning how to do is throw the worst-looking drop kicks and punches I've ever seen out of Lawler. I cannot buy...
He really has to sell for a guy that's twice his age.
I mean, I cannot buy that Miz is better off now having worked with Jerry Lawler and appearing as though he can't beat Jerry Lawler, a joke announcer since 1996, than he would have been if he had had an actual feud with John Morrison.
Right, and, you're absolutely right. I'm like, okay, if you're going to do this, if Miz is going to work with Lawler on an episode of Raw, what you do is Miz destroys him. And I can think of so many cases in the past where they did the veteran would, do something to kind of sort of come out of retirement, and then he gets his ass kicked. Prime example, Vader, when he first came to the WWF, second night in the show, he pisses off Gorilla Monsoon. Gorilla Monsoon starts chopping him, and Vader kicks his ass and, injures Gorilla Monsoon. And it was shocking. Gorilla Monsoon did more for Vader than Jerry Lawler has done for Miz. And Vader didn't sell for him or anything. He just destroyed Gorilla Monsoon. And that's what Lawler should be doing. It's like, look, if you're going to be working with Miz, then Miz should kill you.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Gorilla Monsoon then was pretty much off TV from then on. He was very rarely seen after that. Jerry Lawler is still going to be the Raw announcer, so they have to let him save some face.
No, they don't. I'm sorry, James. He does not have to save face. You know what? Because he's 61 years old. He's been pretty much retired for the last decade, if not more. Why does the announcer have to save face? Can't you just come out and say, last week I tried to wrestle Miz, I got my ass kicked. You know what? I'm 61 years old. He's the WWE champion. I'm sorry. I do not want to hear that Jerry Lawler has to save face. He's a fucking announcer. Are you fucking telling me that, like, if Jeff Jarrett went over and slapped Taz, and Taz hit the they have to let Taz do the Taz Gajame or what the Taz mission? No, are you telling me? I mean, back in the day when Larry Zbyszko came out of retirement, he wrestled Eric Bischoff. He did not go and pin Sting. He did not go and pin Hogan. You know, it's one thing if Lawler was doing this with some nobody, but he's doing it with the world champion.
You got
Thank you, Nick. And I never liked this whole logic of, the babyface has to save face in the end. It's like, well, certain babyfaces are expendable at certain points in time. And, we said it with Punk and The Undertaker. And people defended it by saying, well, Undertaker needs to be protected, and he needs to look good in Hell in a Cell, and all these imaginary rules that I've never heard of before. And I'm just sitting here thinking, well, why? Why, Undertaker, he's falling apart. His career's almost over. Give it to Punk. And you know what the pisser was? 1 year later, he puts over Kane in a Hell in a Cell match. And nobody says a word. I don't get it.
By the way, joining us on the line right now is our guest of the week, and that is Sean Waltman joining us. And you might have heard us getting a little bit animated over our current wrestling product right now.
I
just
heard the end of it, the very fucking end of it. Excuse me. I just heard the end of the rant, but apparently there's something was being ranted about. Fill me in.
Yeah.
Fuck, come on.
That's what we did. We were ranting about Undertaker beating CM Punk last year and kind of costing him some steam.
Well, there was that, but then he put over Kane like 600 times, and I just can't understand.
Yeah, but you know what though? That is Taker, and it would have been anybody. No, I don't give a fuck who it was. Like, it wasn't nothing against Punk because I saw it when they came to Mexico and I was still living there. Everybody was speaking very highly of CM Punk, Taker, all the people that mattered, and it's just, they don't look at it that way. That's just it. They're not looking at it from like maybe my perspective or your perspective,
Yeah.
So they weren't trying to fucking slight Punk or anything. I guess if you feel like it cost him steam, then it did in your eyes.
Yeah, it kind of did because the next month he was like not doing anything. He went from world champion to not even being on the show, and it just blew my mind because I thought he was like the best thing they had at the time.
Right. Yeah, and you have an advantage over me as I didn't follow the product as closely while I was living in Mexico because I was working, a lot and doing our own fucking thing down there. But I just, Punk's doing damn good. It would have been nice, and he even mentioned this to me last time I saw him. It was while he was still out with the injury, and they hadn't brought him to do the commentary on Raw, but they told him they were going to start doing it. And he was like, God, I wish I could have, just stayed away while I was hurt so I could come back and, get that big pop. But they saw him every week, doing the commentary. So it was like he was never gone.
I think the thing that everybody was afraid of was that they would hear him do commentary and think, wow, he's so good, that they were afraid that, that would be what he'd end up doing. Like, I don't think anybody thought Matt Stryker was going to go on to be, like, the best wrestler ever, but he was so good at announcing that he now doesn't even wrestle, which is fine.
Look, man, here's the thing. As long as CM Punk can deliver in the ring the way he's still doing, with Vince McMahon's fucking roster is so shallow right now that he's not. I almost said ain't. He's not gonna take CM Punk and put him on the fucking shelf as an announcer. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, and a funny thing about that, a few years ago, I kind of felt like they did the same thing to Edge, where they kind of pulled the rug out from under him.
They do that,
hot.
man. You're right.
Yeah, but then after a while, it gets to a point where it's like, well, Edge is so good, you can't ignore it anymore. So the cream does eventually rise to the top.
Eventually, in most cases. There are cases where it doesn't happen for fucking political reasons or whatnot. But if somebody keeps themselves in the game long enough and they're that good, they will. They will fucking rise to the top. As long as they stay in the game.
Exactly. And this is your second show of the night. For those who don't know, Sean Waltman is actually doing his own show. And earlier on tonight, he actually interviewed the Iron Sheik.
Yes,
oh, wow.
but it didn't. You know, before anybody starts going, I want a fucking podcast, I want to get a podcast, I want to see the replay or whatever, like, it's a good show, but Sheik was only on for about 5 minutes. He just wasn't feeling it. And really, like, I wanted to start the interview off, and I think, you know what, it's kind of tough to interview a guy like Sheik over the phone anyways, because it's somewhat hard, you know, with the, I know there's no real language barrier there, but the broken English and the, I think I might have been talking a bit fast for him. And I wasn't, and I was trying to start. I'm not like you guys, like in the sense
Uber
that
fans?
you guys, your deal is that you're wrestling. What do you want to call yourself, journalist or
journalists? You know
like
what? You know what it is,
John
Sean.
Hand, like
this is kind of how I would describe it. I kind of describe it as if you've ever seen the show on VH1 Classic, That Metal Show.
Yeah.
What it is
perfect.
essentially just, it's a bunch of guys who talk as if they were talking at a bar.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the way I like to present this show.
Yeah, exactly. And that, but the thing is that a lot of guys, they come at Sheik, and it's really they're just going for the fucking comic relief. And I was getting to that. I was going to get to that, but I also wanted to focus on some things that, you know, also, you know, showed him a little bit of respect to what he's fucking done besides all the shit everybody laughs at him about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. No, he's a legit great athlete. I mean,
yeah, he's done a lot of stuff, but, you know, it wasn't happening tonight. And so I just took calls for the remainder of the hour, and it was fucking good. Some people called me. I'm sorry for saying fuck so much, you guys.
Don't. If you had been listening about 5 minutes before you called in, Nick went on a F-bomb rampage, so it's fine.
I know, but I say it entirely too much. When I watch a replay of my stuff and I go, I am saying fuck on a like, if you watch my You Shoot video, count the amount of fucks in there. I bet you can't even count them. I swear, I was going to have Sean Oliver do that. Like, count the amount of times I said fuck and have a contest. Like the joint rolling contest, Stu says fuck the most. I think I would win that.
I'm sure Kevin Smith is worse.
Kevin Smith?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. You know, he's worse if you ever heard him speak.
Of course, yeah. I'm actually speaking at Michigan State University on the 27th, and I'm kind of patterning the deal after his, you know, a night with Kevin Smith.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it should be fun. I hope. If anybody shows up.
No, that should be fun, man.
Well,
and you'll have to give us the details so we can promote that
right?
for people to show up.
But where was I, man?
You were talking about Sheik and how it turned out, I think. And
yeah. But I mean, so you know, I look at him as a you know, not only are we in the same business together as you know, the brotherhood of wrestlers, but I also look up to him as you know, he came before me. And, you know, I don't like to use the term old-timer, you know. I mean, even though that's what, you know, eventually we all become. But I just have a lot of respect for the guys that came before me. And so I would love to sit and laugh with them, too, but I wanted to be kind of serious a little bit. Yeah, I love how you went, who the fuck wants to hear that?
I'll say this. I was watching the Ricky Steamboat DVD last week, and I mentioned this earlier in the show. I did not know this, but Ricky mentioned that one of his original trainers was the Iron Sheik.
That's right, because Ricky, even though he's from St. Petersburg, Florida, where I'm talking to you from right now, and smoking this joint,
I love the honesty.
He went instead of going to Eddie Graham or Hiro
just stay away
Matsuda,
from Newark, okay?
What's that?
Just kidding. I said just stay away from Newark with that, okay?
Oh, come on. That was such a fluke. I can't believe I was so stupid. I felt stupid just for wasting everybody's time on that Newark thing. But seriously, no, Ricky Steamboat, instead of going to Matsuda like you would have figured, he went all the way up and did Vern Gagne's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's either one. I went to Malenko's here in Tampa, and Malenko and Carl Gotch and all those guys, and it was fantastic. And I also went through a few of Brad's camps with some of his students. Brad Rangan's up there in Minnesota, and his camps are great too. I don't know if he's done one in the last few years, but anyways.
I don't even know. I
haven't heard
much about
my show. It's on CalheadTV.com, you guys.
What is the website address again?
CalheadTV.com.
Wow, I'll have to get a link up of that and people to check it out. Now, that's a video show or just audio?
It's video.
It's video, so they can see you while you're doing it.
It's video. It's from the radio station where we do the Cowhead show. But it's just we simulcast the radio show over the web anyways, for video, and so we're just using that for the web stream, and it works great. I mean, I'm sure there's some kinks that need to be worked out, but. It's not easy to broadcast audio and video.
No, I can't imagine it would be.
Yeah.
We tinkered with that about 5 years ago on when I used to be on a radio station called the KASC, the Blaze, and we tinkered with the idea, and it was so uninteresting to think that people would want to see me sitting in the studio wearing a headset that I figured, what the hell? I mean, Francine was our co-host at the time, but she wasn't actually in the studio with us, so there was nothing good to look at. So I just said, the hell with it.
Right. Yeah, but when you're on audio, there's so much you can leave to the imagination, and there's so much, actually, probably more you can do, just with audio. I mean, in a lot of ways. I really kind of like the radio thing, I mean, I'm all about video and, technology and all that shit, but, honestly, my show could just as well be fucking, an audio show for sure, because all the content is just talking anyways.
Very cool. And have you enjoyed the experience? Because it is a completely different environment, fielding questions from people, taking them over the air. Is that something that you've actually enjoyed?
Oh, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Mind you, I'm rough around the edges, obviously. I don't have I'm not in the groove. I don't have, everything's not running, like it should or whatever. But really, I'm just worried about the content right now, and I think I do fine. Sometimes I talk slow, sometimes I talk fast. Sometimes I say too much, shit like that. But
and that will be stuff that when you hear yourself
talk like that. But I love taking the questions, and you know what, you guys, a couple of them were hostile callers, like talking shit and whatnot, and I welcome that because not everybody.
I was just going to ask you about that actually.
Yeah, bring that shit on, man.
Callers.
So nothing bothers you. Like if they call you up and talk about anything from your past, and obviously you're one of the guys who does not hide from your past.
Exactly. So what can they really fucking do to me? What can they say to me? If they say they can't say anything that I haven't already told everybody. So I mean, really, I just fucking eat them for lunch, dude. That's the truth of the matter, and I enjoy it. So bring it. I mean, to me, it's entertaining for people to sit and listen to me fucking dice these guys to ribbons. And if they're funny, then bring that too, because I don't mind somebody zinging me. I will get the last fucking word, though.
Well, that's the benefit of being the host.
Exactly.
When you're the host, you can hang up on
you're
people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but this one guy, I didn't even have to shut him down. I just told him to shut the fuck up, and he did. He was calling me every name in the book, and I said, shut the fuck up. It's my turn to talk. And he just fucking immediately shut up. But, it's definitely, people think, oh, I could go do that. I could do a show. Anybody could do a show. Yeah, anybody could do a show, but anybody can't do a good show.
There you go.
And that's a motherfucker.
Exactly right.
When you're sitting there and you got to, all of a sudden, and you're on live, like you guys are now, like we are now, people don't understand, it's very difficult to not get caught up in the fact that you're all of a sudden now on a show and you're responsible for this motherfucker being good and at the same time to try to still be yourself and feel comfortable and be able to talk like you would in a normal conversation with somebody.
And like I said,
James
that's
remembers
the
what
thing
I
about...
was like. James, do you remember what I was like when I first started?
Yeah,
I
you
bet
had
you
like a little nervous tick.
Motherfucker. Everybody
he had like a little
come on,
nervous
right?
tick, and that went away almost the second show. I mean, I don't even know if you knew about it when you first did it.
What? He had a tick?
Like he would go. Pat, what would you describe it as?
I don't even remember what it was. I don't think you ever posted the first show that I was a part of because it sounded
like
so
a Tourette's gimmick.
No, not a Tourette's gimmick.
Well, Steve Blackman
used to like a nervous
fucking...
laugh. It was a nervous laugh or something like that.
Steve Blackman used to have this weird fucking, when he'd get kind of wound up, he'd have this tick kind of thing going, and it was really weird. And whenever that motherfucker started doing that, you just go the other way. Seriously.
Now, why wouldn't
nobody to fuck with?
Nobody. Actually, we just referenced Steve Blackman today because I don't know if you saw Raw, but did you see the big guy at the end of Raw? I don't know if you watched it or not.
Yeah, somebody. I was at FCW when I was sitting,
okay.
Just last Thursday. They're doing another one tomorrow, and I was sitting critiquing the matches and ripping guys to shreds with Jim Ross and Arn Anderson, and Steve Kern and Jerry Briscoe. And that was the first thing that came out of guys' mouths in that room was he looks too much like Batista. And then I heard some people mention
the exact words
Blackman
we used to describe him was the love child of Batista and Steve Blackman. He looked a lot like if you crossed the two, that would be what you came up with.
Yeah, but everybody was really like on the whole he looks too much like Batista thing. And they're scrambling trying to figure what's obviously he's got too much physical potential to just, say fuck it, he looks too much like Batista, so that, they're telling him grow your hair out, or I think, and just grow a big fucking beard or something, anything to not look like for the time being.
Course,
it's such an obvious comparison. It's like, Stevie Wonder could see that shit.
So I do have to ask you, of course, the big news last week, and you did blog about it a little bit, was Shawn Michaels going into the Hall of Fame, and that's got to be something pretty cool for you guys. I mean, obviously being a quote-unquote clique member, it's going to be cool to see when you guys going in.
Yeah, honestly, I was moved to tears watching that because I didn't know any sooner than anybody else did. And it was fantastic, and I'm so happy for him. And Sean's really, really taken an incredible turn in his life over the past several years, and he deserves every fucking thing he gets. It really, and I've said this a lot. I have my personal favorites. Bret Hart was always a favorite of mine, but when you want to be honest about the situation on a nightly basis, Shawn Michaels was fucking unparalleled. He could take a piece of shit and fucking and have a great match with it.
I think that's what the you can get down to the
and so could Flair, but fucking, and I'm sorry to interrupt, man, but so could Flair, but Flair didn't do it with as much fucking athleticism as Shawn Michaels. Sorry.
No problem at all, and I agree with you. And Michaels, was just unparalleled in that vein. I think that, the biggest problem with Brett and Sean was just that they were both battling to be the best in the company and to be the face of the company. And, that's everybody can say, oh, well, it had to do with Sonny. Well, maybe so, but that's not the entire reason, or that's not the main reason. So that's just a
and, I always loved both of those guys, especially Brett. I just love Brett, man. I traveled a lot with Brett, and I was, kind of a weird situation because he didn't like my friends, but, and it was hard to tell whether they liked him or not. I never jumped on the Brett bashing deal at all, ever, because I loved Brett, and I just felt like, how could you be brashing him and, and then be cool to him, I just, but...
Yeah. I think I did tell you that when we interviewed Brad about, I guess it's almost 2 years ago now. God, time flies. He did say he put over your match with him, the face versus face match from Raw, as one of his favorite matches. So that was pretty cool.
How cool is that? That's fucking Bret Hart said that.
Exactly, right.
Seriously. I'm allowed to be a mark, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to send you a link, by the way. I found on the tape that match I was telling you about a long time ago with you and Benoit from WCW Worldwide. So if I can find the tape again, I'll put it on YouTube or something for you.
Yeah, I saw another one I had with Benoit from a Nitro. That was good while it lasted.
Was it
really
a brief one?
Honest to God, it was different working with him, but it was once you got used to it, like it was incredible. It was incredible, man. What a tragedy.
Absolutely.
What a tragedy.
So I have to ask you about this since you kind of know a little bit about everything. I got to ask you, the big thing this week is Macho Man. Randy Savage is involved in promoting this new All-Stars video game. And, of course, the rumor birds came out right away saying, well, that's probably a sign that he'll be in the Hall of Fame this year and things like that. You ever see it happening?
Not this year.
You don't think so? You think Sean's the guy, huh?
Unless like Shawn Michaels is the least of the fucking names going into the Hall of Fame, I would think that would be the big one, maybe. Wouldn't you, or no?
Well, you could say that, but then I think didn't Hogan and Piper go in the same year as well? And so they usually try to have a double bill.
Yeah.
I mean, that would obviously be the one-two punch.
I know it's going to happen. There's no fucking two ways about it.
Well, he deserves
it. There's no two ways about it. I know that. I remember. I'll tell you a story. I remember when Randy left. He was just doing commentary for the most part with Vince, right? You guys remember that?
Right.
I think he was working with Crush maybe at the time.
Yeah, he had off and on matches with Crush. Yeah.
A weird match at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, something like that. And I don't know. You guys just remember the story at all, but Randy basically called Vince in the middle of the night and told him over the phone, hey, I'm going to work for Turner.
Turner, right.
And Vince really, and I don't know if there's more to it than that. People speculate and say whatever, but they were fucking tight as can be up until that point. And I just think Vince felt really jilted because he really was. You know what? Hogan had left, and he had picked Mach to be his Babe Ruth.
Right.
And the very next day, and everybody was walking on eggshells, because nobody wanted to. Everybody was real quiet because they knew Vince was upset.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sorry, my phone rang a second ago and it distracted me for a second. But the people knew that Vince was upset, all the boys and everybody. And I just happened to be in the bathroom at the same time, myself, the late great Arnold Skoland, and Vince all taking a piss. And as we're getting done taking a piss, Arnie looked at Vince and made some wisecrack about Randy, the day after Randy just quit. And I swear to God, Vince almost, the look on his face, he actually sold it. And Vince didn't sell anything.
Oh.
So
Vince didn't take it well then.
he would, if it would have been anybody else but Arnold Skoland, Ooh, let me fucking tell you.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, we
I mean,
talked
were
about
talking...
it earlier in the show, but the whole thing with Randy just seems strange because, Vince has, awkward pasts with like Sable and Bret Hart, and they came back eventually. It just seems strange that Randy never really
Yeah,
came
but
back.
that's a Sable. I mean, I don't know, like Sable. I couldn't compare the. I mean, I'm sure he cared a little bit or whatever about Sable, but I think that it was almost like a marriage, almost. Like a. Not homosexual. I'm not implying anything like that. I'm just saying, like, that's how it gets sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, as far as emotional bond. I mean, there's every day together.
If
Vince opens up and lets somebody in, he doesn't do that often. When he does, in his mind, at least, if not for a fact, he gets burned every time. At least in his mind, and I could see how he would think that.
Yeah, I think you can all look at it. I mean,
but it's all a matter
of the
of point
nature
of view,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, sometimes you got to do what's best for you, and
right.
Sometimes business and relationships just don't work out.
Sure, because I mean, just look at the situation with Brett, and how he let Brett go. How he told him, okay, hey, you can go to work for Turner now. Tell me that didn't hurt Brett's feelings.
Yeah,
I always thought Brett had a reason to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, maybe because he was always Vince's backup guy. Vince was never really in love with him like he was with like Lex when he shoved that bus up Lex's ass.
The mighty Lex Express,
or different guys, or even Kevin, even Nash at Diesel.
Yeah.
He had that look in his eye, that the goo-goo gaga fucking look. And, Brett was always the guy that he fall back on when his first pick didn't fucking get the job done, or whatever.
Right, yeah. He was just the solid worker who would always deliver a match that people would remember. Don't get me wrong,
but he was the man because Vince could not find anybody else.
Right.
I don't mean to say that in any way, shape, or form taken away from Brett. I'm just saying because I think Brett is like right up there. Like if he's right up there with Sean, depending on your opinion.
Right,
maybe not quite, but it's just that Brett. Vince is always he always wanted that. I don't know. He liked Sean like that though, reluctantly, eventually.
Eventually, yeah. I guess you could say that. I mean, it seemed like he had that for him, though.
Trust
all the
me,
way
nobody
from
could get away with talking
stuff,
to Vince McMahon the way Shawn Michaels did if Vince didn't have that look in his eye for Shawn.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and he put him. I mean, he put him on the pedestal. That was clear from the title win onwards. So I mean, I think it was clear from the
that hurt
Finding
Brett
My
too,
Smile and all that. Yeah.
Brett takes everything serious. It's real. And that's why he was so good at it. Is because he took it so serious. And a lot of people would like to say things or like, oh, Brett's a marker. Brett, takes himself too serious. No, that's the fucking part I liked about him. One of.
There you go. Well, we'll let you go here in a sec, but what else is coming
you guys
up? I think you got
to get rid of me.
No, I mean, anytime you want to come on, Sean, I have to thank you enough. I know I didn't give you much notice, but Billy Graham ended up in the hospital, so I needed
my best to Superstar Billy Graham. I love Superstar. We both have hepatitis C. Fortunately, I caught mine at an early stage, and my prayers go to Superstar, and his wife and family, and Scott Epstein is the agent. I work with Scott, and he's a great guy too.
Scott's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys calling me and thinking I was worthy of filling in for the fucking great Superstar Billy Graham.
Oh, it's always a blast having you on, man.
It's always a blast, exactly, yeah.
And I'm
what
sorry,
else is coming up?
I monopolized all the fucking time with my running my fucking mouth.
No problem at all. So what else you got coming up? You got your show, obviously, every week. You got an upcoming speech coming up. And then I think I saw that you were also going to be part of Pro Wrestling Syndicate coming up as well.
Yeah, March the 5th in like the Long Island area. I'm not going to say the name of the town because I'll butcher it. But it's in the Long Island area. And me, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, like DX reunion deal.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. That guy contacted me originally, and he said, "Who do you got?" And I kept saying, go with him. He's the one, So hopefully that worked out well for you.
Yeah. And I'll work hard too, And but honestly, I'm going to insist that they don't put us on last because Loki and Davey Richards are on that show, and I'll be fucking damn if I'm going to follow that match.
There you go. And that's, he's another guy. Caval, he wrestled as in WWE, and now he's back to being low key. That's a great talent. That.
Hey man, it's on whatever he's happy doing, man. Anybody can say whatever, as long as he's personally happy. It doesn't fucking matter what anybody else thinks.
Exactly.
And
he's a great
it's bullshit that they couldn't come up with something meaningful for him in WWE. It's fucking retarded to me, but like I said, you can't make people look at you. I used to fight that all the time, but Vince, I wanted Vince. Vince treated me fantastic, but I always wanted him to look at me, in a different light. Mind you, I should have probably worked harder to earn it, though. So.
I mean, what was it, the 1, 2, 3 kids stigma, or what?
No. Well, I mean, I just, I should have worked out harder. I should have fucking taken care of myself better. I shouldn't have been as much of a hothead. I shouldn't have said it's blue or it's white when they said black, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Played by
anybody can point fingers and blame people. So and so buried me. This guy buried me. Really, man, we bury ourselves in one way or another. Whether it's fucking being drug addicts or fucking up that way or being dicks, just fucking plain old fucking shitty to be around, or you're just not up to par in the ring. One way or another. I mean, it's all our. Everybody can blame. Point the finger anywhere else. You got 3 point right back at you. So.
All righty, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for. What's up?
Yeah, go ahead, man. I'm sorry. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'll shut the fuck up now.
No. I was actually going to say. I was going to say it was always great having you on. I wasn't trying to rush you off.
No. I just keep talking. I can't stop. You're going to have
How
to
do you
push
do
the
that with
button
your show
on me,
then? How do you, is it tough to keep to the 60-minute format for you? Or?
Yeah, it's brutal because it's over with by the time I know it. Even with no guests, you guys, I still was like, as long as there was calls coming in, I would have just kept on going and not even realized.
I wonder if Rush Limbaugh feels that way.
What does he do? 4 hours every day?
Something
just about,
like that.
3 or 4, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do here, but there's music in the middle. So it's really not 4 hours. 4 hours. There's way too much music in the middle.
Very cool.
Anyways,
all right,
man,
I
appreciate you guys, and thank you again.
Keep in contact, man. I appreciate it, and I'll post anything you want me to post, public appearances and wrestling events and all that. Just keep in contact, man. I appreciate it.
Sure, man. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Take care, Sean.
Bye-bye.
One of the true good guys in the wrestling business, Sean Waltman. For all the things that we wouldn't click on, I seem to click best with him. I don't know why, but
he's just a cool guy, man. I mean, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I so thought I was going to run into another Eric Clancy.
Armando Estrada and Eric Clancy.
Yeah, Armando Estrada. So it was like, oh crap, he heard me ranting on Taker, but no, he was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do think that the WWE has a different perspective, but I do think that, you can't. The rumor going into it was that he had his thumb down on him anyway because he wore a T-shirt or something stupid out in Europe and was like,
Again, I mean, you got to take internet rumors with a grain of salt. I mean, I said it last week when TNA, all these reports were coming out about TNA, like, the Main Event Mafia is reforming in TNA. Booker, Sting, and Nash are going back, and Nash says, I'm not going. And, they're going to end the X Division, and Dixie Carter and Eric Bischoff are like, no, we're not. I don't know where that came from, but,
right.
Those kind of crazy rumors spring up.
Like I said, I think we talked off air, and I said even Nick, when Nick read the post, you could tell that the X Division one was kind of fishy. So I think Nick's kind of, take on the way he posted it was kind of like, it's probably not true, but here's what people are saying.
Yeah. Well, I kind of found myself injecting my opinion more and more into the news. And part of that is as I read more and more other news people's sites, I realize a lot of it's their opinion anyway, so I might as well just inject my 2 cents into the whole mix.
There you go. Well, that's, it is one of the things I talked about, and we have an upcoming guest, and I won't announce it here because I don't want anybody else to swipe the guest, but he wrote a controversial book. It's coming out very soon. And he's going to be joining us in maybe even next week, if not 2 weeks from now. And another guy who wrote a book for the same book publisher is, getting attacked by WWE, and that's Munchnick. And WWE's attacking him, saying, you're falsely accusing all this stuff. And, one of the things I think that we last as long as we have is that we don't walk lockstep with everybody else. We don't just say what everybody else is saying. We kind of make up our own minds, whether we agree with them and explain why, or whether we disagree with everybody else and explain why.
Right.
Well, I've said it before. James Walsh, the interactive interview and Wrestling Epicenter has been kind of the bastion for people who think differently from everybody else. The
island of misfit toys.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
Well, let's be
guys,
perfectly
honest. I hate to interrupt, but I'm going to run up now, but I'm going to let you guys, finish up. We got the Rumble coming up. Is that this weekend, by the way, the Rumble?
It's next weekend.
Next weekend. Oh, okay. So we can do a preview next weekend appropriately.
And I've got one quick question for you, James.
Yeah.
I had to step off the phone for a brief second while Sean Waltman was talking, and I came back and he was talking about somebody getting, he got let go from the WWE because they didn't have anything for him. Who was he talking about?
Loki, Caval.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we were talking
you
about.
don't have anything for him. You could feud him with Rey Mysterio. I'm just saying, people kind of.
That's his only negative is how short he is. But as a worker, the guy's amazing.
Here's the thing, though. He's really not that short. I get that. He's not. Obviously, no one's ever going to mistake him for,
Johnny Gonzalez.
Yeah, the Great Khali or something. But, he's more of an average-sized guy. He measures up pretty well with, Ziggler. He's not, as ripped and as muscular as Dolph is. But, they had a really good match, and I think it was Survivor Series, and I was like, man, I really want to see a rematch. And next thing you know, Dolph was back feuding with Kofi Kingston.
And now he's the number 1 contender for the World Heavyweight title.
Yes.
See, this is where I get into. They don't have a plan. They don't, and nobody can convince me that they do. There are no long-term plans here. It's just, let's just do things. I'm going to steal a line from The Dark Knight. They're just mad dogs chasing cars. They wouldn't know what to do with one if they actually caught one. They just do things.
Right. Well, it goes back to what I said earlier, where they don't have the patience to execute a plan or to think it out logically. Okay, if you're going to make Dolph Ziggler the number 1 contender, you should probably think, okay, Dolph's going to have to lose the IC title, and then we're going to have to rebuild him real quick. I'm willing to bet they showed up that Tuesday and just said, you want to make Dolph the number 1 contender since we can't think of anybody else? Sure. Yeah. Sure. I'm sure the guy who was probably the most surprised that he's the number 1 contender is Dolph Ziggler. He probably was like, someone probably just handed him the script, and he was reading it, and I assume they tell them the earmark where certain guys might be in the show, and I'm sure Dolph was reading the script okay, I lose the IC title, I lose my rematch, flip. I'm the number 1 contender.
Oh boy!
Hooray! Oh, yeah.
Strange times.
Yeah. So, anyway, Patrick, there's something I want to go into a little bit more depth with, and that is something we touched upon a little bit earlier, and that is the 40-man Royal Rumble. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. After years of it being for 30 men, they've added an extra 10 men to the Royal Rumble. This is one of those things that, like, it could be good and it could be bad. If they have to make it mean something that there are 10 extra men in this match, and they don't, it could be good. But if they just have it, they have guys come out like they're rapid fire eliminations, and you're like, well, who was that? Who was that? Who was that? Who's still in this thing? Have we seen this guy yet? I think that could really actually water down the whole match because, you almost kind of would you rather that they just kind of book a better 30-man match instead of just trying to randomly cram in 10 more guys?
Yeah, again, and I've said that they've upped it to 40, and I think, okay, there are some more interesting situations that you could create there. I've already come up with the idea, all right, you have CM Punk and you have Daniel Bryan, two guys that can go a really long time, and they've done it on the Indies. I would have them start at number 1 and have them go all the way to the end. Not win it necessarily, but have them be like a marathon man and set a new record that'll never be broken. Because I think Rey Mysterio holds the record for longest time, but just set this really long-ass record. That would just be ridiculous. And there's something they could do with that. I've already said that, the luck of the draw is going to mean a lot more because number 20 isn't so good of a number anymore. It also depends on, the number of, the interval, the time interval. Will it be 2 minutes or will it be 30 seconds? I don't know. Well,
one thing is they've only announced 3 matches for this pay-per-view, the Rumble and the 2 world title matches.
That might be the whole show.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
It could be. Look. How many pay-per-views do we go in with, only 4 or 5 matches announced?
Yeah, but this time they actually have a match that could take up literally half the show, so it might work.
Yeah. Oh, like I said, there's a lot of stuff they could do, and one idea could potentially be where you have the first 30 guys come out, and somebody is after number 30, you have a guy left, and he's all alone, and then the announcer could really drive on the point. Ladies and gentlemen, if this were the traditional Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre would be the winner, but 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you hear, I hate to say it, but Triple H's music, and I know it would be a good spot. If you had someone like McIntyre winning who's a hated heel, and then you hear Triple H's music at number 31, it could be one of those, oh shit, now it gets even tougher moments.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny that you bring that up because I was remembering some of my favorite Royal Rumbles in the past. They actually did something like that with Ric Flair where he eliminated everybody by about, I want to say, the midpoint. And when he was the only one left in the ring, Bobby Heenan was like, he's done it! Ric Flair has won the Royal Rumble! And I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, please, even if you're not a Ric Flair fan, go watch the 92 Royal Rumble because it is a damn entertaining show. And if nothing else, you have Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon in one of their best announcing jobs together.
Oh, yeah, and people have said countless times that was Heenan's best work, and it probably was. He was hilarious, but he really sold the story, too. Yeah,
I remember, when Flair comes out, because Flair comes out at number 3, and the first words out of Heenan's mouth are, oh, no! And, Monsoon's going, well, Brian, I told you, no one from the first 5 has ever won the Royal Rumble. And that was a big moment. It set the perfect stage as you were going to watch Ric Flair, the guy that's been walking around with another belt claiming to be the real world champion, battle his way through and try to become the WWF World Champion.
Yeah, and people remember that as being one of the better Rumbles, and it certainly was. And not necessarily just because of Flair either. We also had the stuff that they did with Randy Savage and Jake Roberts. That was very well done.
And, I mean, you also had the stuff with, Hogan and Undertaker. These were the two guys that had the belt. For people that may have never seen it, going into the 92 Royal Rumble, the WWF title was vacated because of the series of matches between Hogan and Undertaker, where there had been interference both times. So you had the story of Hulk Hogan trying to get his belt back. And at the time, The Undertaker, why am I saying at the time? The Undertaker is always an unstoppable killing machine, but even more so in a way. He was trying to win the belt. I mean, you've had a little side story with Roddy Piper where he won the IC title, and, Monsoon brought up, and wouldn't it be amazing if Roddy Piper could be the first man to ever win the IC and the WWF title in the same night?
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that this Royal Rumble, I feel, is missing, with or without the extra 10 entrants. And again, I've said it before, so many of their characters just have no direction right now that it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of meat to this WrestleMania, as far as, like, no intersecting feuds, really. It's just, you have the Nexus, you have John Cena, and I guess you have Morrison and Sheamus, but that's about it. I think, is there anything else that I'm missing?
Not really. I mean, normally by this time, you can kind of see the WrestleMania matches taking shape. Even like last year, we all kind of knew that Cena and Batista were going to wrestle each other at Mania. We had a feeling that it was going to be Edge and Jericho. We knew what was coming. This year, I mean, quite honestly, it's like, Miz is WWE champion, but realistically his feud is with Lawler. At this point, it's like Randy Orton's even kind of a placeholder. Cena seems to be working with Nexus, so I could see like a CM Punk versus John Cena match where, like, Nexus as a whole is on the line, and if Cena wins, they're all fired.
Yeah, they've done that match like 3 times, haven't they? I mean, it's been Barrett versus Cena, but haven't they done like that whole, like, if I win, Nexus disbands or something?
Yeah, they've done it, and like it's been all they keep building like these big matches where realistically you would say, okay, it's time for Nexus to be done, and then they just keep bringing it back.
Speaking of that, the Nexus Wolfpack now has a name.
Real quick question. I'm sorry, I'm back for just 1 second here, guys.
Hello.
YouTube now no longer puts the restraints of 15 minutes on you.
Oh, really?
They don't. My question is, how long do they give you? Because WWE is posting like full episodes of SmackDown on there, but I don't know if they get special treatment because they're WWE, or if you're now allowed to just upload like 2 hours of shit.
I think you have to sign up for like a special membership to get like unlimited time. But I don't know. I didn't know they had taken away the 15-minute restriction. I don't know how long. Because I've had a hard time with my videos getting it down to just 15.
Well, what I just posted today, I posted the whole Missy segment, and before I posted it, it said, congratulations, you are now approved to upload videos that are much longer than 15 minutes. But they don't say, but don't go over 30 or anything like that. It's just kind of like, well, that's kind of vague. Should I... Because my thought is, well, hell, if I can post up to 2 hours, why don't I just post the entire damn episodes of the show on YouTube? Because no, I'm serious. I get emails and stuff from people saying that, well, if I don't have an iPod and I can't listen to it on the go, but I have a cell phone and my cell phone lets me go to YouTube so I can watch or listen to your interviews on YouTube. All right, well, listen to our whole damn show because there's a lot more to this show than just our interviews.
Yeah, I was going to say the Sean Waltman segment, but I guess that counts as an interview, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, well, that would technically be an interview. I'm going to list it as an interview. So.
Yep.
Alrighty, and yes, they do have a name. What are they? The Core or something like that, or?
Yeah. The Core.
The Core Pack.
Yeah. Which is seriously, I mean, it's like. Did they really have to reform a new stable on SmackDown? Couldn't Barrett just be a solo act? I get that. I know that like he's not that strong. Like he has potential, but he's not. I don't think he's ready for the main event. But it's like really. So now he's basically just doing what he was doing on Raw.
Pretty much, and I can't believe that it's like okay, because I thought they could do an angle where okay. Punk kicked him out of Nexus, and now he has to do something Barrett, where he has to destroy what he created. No, we're just going to move him to SmackDown, and that's it. All right.
Also, when you think, like, logically, like, Barrett and Slater, Gabriel and Slater were part of New Nexus. Wouldn't you think, like, if they tried to hook up with Barrett, he might say something like, "Oh, yeah, where the hell were you guys when CM Punk was kicking me in the head and costing me a shot at the WWE Championship?"
Fair question. But the guys in Nexus, like, their loyalties switch every week, it seems. Like, when Otunga was trying to seize power, and they, like, listened to him for a while, and then Barrett did that thing where they walked out on the stage and was like, "Oh, we're going to help you, Otunga." "Nah, let's leave." And like, they did a lot of switching back and forth, and then it's like, okay, we're aligned with Punk, and then Barrett came out, like, "Nexus, get out of here, what's going on?" It's like, we're here, we're still with you. I don't know, it's like their loyalties keep switching.
Seriously, they're like the putties in Power Rangers when, like, in year 2, they switched to Lord Zed, and, like, all of Rita's people just went with Lord Zed. That's basically what they are.
Yeah, and then when Lord Zed and Rita got married, they were like, "Oh, it's all good."
Yeah. Yeah, oh, jeez. I mean, so we have a 40-man Rumble. We have Orton versus Miz again, and we have Ziggler versus Edge.
Which, again, I'll say it, I've said this before, I said it last week, and I'll keep saying it until the match happens. The match will be good. That's not the problem. The problem is they're rushing it, and I don't like that.
I mean, they're rushing it, and my problem is, as you said, the match will be good. The build-up is not Ziggler versus Edge. It's Edge versus Vicky.
Which is that WrestleMania 18 problem all over again.
Yeah, exactly. It's WrestleMania 18. I mean, it's like everything, all they talked about in commentary was, well, you know, at one point Edge was married to Vicky Guerrero, and then the same night there was video of him kissing Alicia Fox. Oh, boy.
Yeah, the wedding planner turned wrestler.
Well, no.
It's amazing the type of people that wind up in this business.
Yeah. Originally, she was the wedding planner turned dancer with that DJ Gabriel guy.
Uh-huh.
Then they fired him, and she became a wrestler, yeah.
It's weird how a character can go from wedding planner to wrestler. I just think that's hilarious. But, I mean, Vicky and Edge do have a past together as characters, and if you're going to have Vicky on the show, for whatever reason, you have to acknowledge it just for the sake of continuity. But Ziggler has to be the main focus.
Exactly, and that's my problem. It's not like it's not like kind of like an acknowledgement of like, okay, this happened, but you know the more important thing is Dolph Ziggler's title match. You know, the feud basically is Edge versus Vicky. It's not Ziggler versus Edge. And that's the feud I want to see. I mean, that's just been my whole Ziggler lately. It has nothing to do with the guy's talent or even his promo ability. It's that he doesn't get to be part of his own act.
Yeah, again, going back to WrestleMania 18, it was amazing. It was astonishing to me that Triple H gets hurt, tears his quad in a match with Jericho while trying to hurt Jericho. Jericho puts him in the walls of Jericho after he tore his quad. So it's like you could have sold the story on Jericho's the one that put him out of action, but no, it has to be about Stephanie and Jericho being her manslave for whatever reason. I didn't get it.
Which then, like in the actual match, they made it a point to talk about how the walls of Jericho would put pressure on the quadricep of Triple H. But of course, you know, by that point, the horse was out of the barn, the train had left the station, the milk had gone bad.
Oh, the telltale sign of the whole thing is the moment where Jericho comes out for his entrance. He comes out, poses with the titles, then he turns around, points at the stage, and out comes Stephanie. And it's like you knew right then and there that, this whole feud is just fucked to high heavens.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and I'm sure Triple H loved that to a certain extent.
he probably came up with it.
Yeah, because people can say what they want, but Triple H, everyone knows that he can book a feud that goes absolutely horribly wrong and draws low rating segments, and it will never be his fault.
Oh, I say it all the time. I know we said it on the show, but I think it's hilarious how he can go out there and have the worst matches of all time, and it's always the other guy's fault. So, it was Kozlov's fault, or, it was just Steiner's fault. And, Steiner wasn't in the best of shape at that point, I agree, but, two people were in that match. And Steiner never worked that poorly with anybody else, not even Test.
Right.
And he's like, it's Nash's fault, it's Goldberg's fault, it's Orton's fault, it's Jericho's fault. It's like, no, maybe Triple H just isn't as good as he wants us to believe he is.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I'll say this. It's clear he doesn't like Jericho. There have always been reports that they don't get along, and I remember, even as recently as Jericho's, big comeback, that night, Triple H was going around mocking everything that Jericho had done, hey, he was going up to Shawn Michaels in front of people, hey, Shawn, you should really start working house shows again, because the big checks are coming. The Savior's here.
Wow.
Yeah, really, Triple H. The guy just did something that blows everything you've been doing with all this DX reunion stuff out of the water. The guy in, the last 5 years of his career has basically been reliving DX. Is mocking Chris Jericho for acknowledging his original run in the WWE when he came out with the big countdown clock.
Right, and, I know, because, obviously Jericho's not going to shoot on him or anything while he's still with the company, but I thought it was hilarious. There was this one episode of Larry King where they were hyping WrestleMania, and I don't remember which WrestleMania it was. It was a few years ago. And Larry King was talking to Triple H. He was talking to Jericho. And they were, Jericho joined the show via satellite, and it was Vince and Triple H in the studio. And Larry asked Triple H a question so how does it go with you guys? Do you, map everything out, bell to bell, move for move? Or do you just go out there and wrestle for 20 minutes? Or, do you just go up to Chris, say Chris Jericho, you go up to him and you say, all right, Chris, we're just going to wrestle around for 20 minutes and then I win. And Jericho's like, yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Oh. See, when you can't tell somebody you're going to rouse those little pot shots, you can get down.
Yeah, but speaking of Triple H, have you seen the trailer for his new movie?
No, because I value my IQ points. I don't want to lose them.
I thought it might be the worst trailer I have ever seen. I'm dead serious. It doesn't even feel like a real movie. It feels like a parody of a movie.
Well, I don't know if we're seeing the same thing, but I remember a few weeks ago the trailer was posted, and then there was a story that that wasn't the actual trailer. It wasn't what they're planning to put out, or some other bullshit. I think what really happened was that is the actual trailer, and then they realized how awful it was.
Seriously, it is it might be the worst trailer I've ever seen. It was not funny. Well, it was funny in how unfunny it was. I can't believe somebody actually put this together and actually made this movie. Oh my God, it's so cliched and so bad and so not good. I just had to laugh at it.
So you're saying it was like the Shockmaster debut? It was
kind of was
in a horrible, horrible way because something went so badly wrong.
Yes, exactly. It was exactly like that. But yeah, it's 10:30 now, and we're running out of time here. So Nick, is there anything you want to say before we go?
Watch TNA.
Watch TNA. All right. So yeah, thank you to James Walsh for hosting the show tonight. I apologize to everybody for being about 5 minutes late, but car troubles will do that to you. And a major thank you to Sean Waltman for coming on the show last minute. Awesome guy to talk to. I love having him on. He's a blast. And Best wishes go to Superstar Billy Graham, who couldn't be with us tonight because he had to be rushed to the emergency room. I hope everything ends up being okay with him. Obviously, Superstar is a legend in this business, and I just wish him the best. And thank you to everybody for listening, and tune in next week, same time, same place. I am Patrick Kelly saying good night, everybody.